the fear is unknown. But when you're in the process, when you're in the moment, it's really not that scary. It's really not that scary. I think that I've probably been here for about 6 or 7 years now. I think probably 13 is when I started to make those small first steps. And it's been a process. Don't get me wrong. Like I've really struggled at points. The struggle really didn't feel like struggling in the moment, quite frankly. I can't tell you an exact moment where I really, really struggled internally. Not one. Genuinely not one. The most that I may have ever struggled wasn't even due to my struggle. It was me knowing that other people were struggling on behalf of me. That was maybe the biggest moment that I ever felt like a really big burden. But even then, when I think about it, I operated in such a way that was so calculated that gave me and the people around me much more peace and confidence in the process that I gave. And I think that this is such a good takeaway for me, especially living through it, is that my pain will never ever outweigh the framework that I live in, which is pain is nothing. It's actually nothing. It only becomes annoying if you start comparing. If you start comparing it to your relativity or your homeostasis, pain then becomes bad. But if you're in the moment and you're like, this is normal, and you try and convince yourself and analyze the situation to where you try and operate that this is normal and this is completely fine and this pain is short, it's temporary, and there's nothing better or worse in the situation. I am just here. I'm present in this moment. Pain is literally homeostasis. It can become homeostasis, and with enough repetition, your pain threshold goes further and further away.
Good luck to my ancestors.
Hope they're well.
Hope they're well.
Great little caviar.
Very good caviar.
Welcome to the SCULPTED podcast. Sculpted if you're a first time listener. It's just a joke we have around here. It's actually not a joke we have around here. It's literally just for Mr. Meckenberg saying SCULPTED all the time. Anyways, caviar, no one knows who Mr. Meckenberg is unless you're an avid listener of the podcast, which if you are, big ups, hope you're a friend of the pod. Make sure you do leave a like, subscribe. Stop with this waffle. Anyways, difficult is relative. Struggle is relative. First topic. Second topic, learn to dangle the carrot in front of you. Now, you guys, let me know what you think the first topic should be. I'll just leave it up to you. Just tell me in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Horrible joke. We all got it. Funny. Nick, thank you. So, the first topic will be difficult is relative, struggle is relative. This talks about someone's capacity to withstand pain, really. I would say that pain should be something where you should be able to withstand a high level of pain. A lot of people are afraid of pain. It's actually not that scary of a thing. Typically, the most scary thing is like just the first touch. It's like when you're going into a pool. It's like the worst thing is when you slowly get into that pool. The best way, just dive straight in, because then you're forced to deal with it. And I think that so many people take the exact same approach to pain. I'll slowly do it. It's if it gets a little bit too much, then I'll go out and it's just not that great. But it's like a slow passive retreat. Nah, embrace it. Just jump straight in. Because guess what? The more and more you dwell on it, the less and less action you will take. Not that it's distinctively analysis paralysis, because analysis paralysis for pain isn't necessarily the worst thing. Maybe the paralysis is the worst thing. Like an inabilitation to take action is definitely not a great thing. But if it's a calculated response to, surveying the land in front of you, it's okay. But difficult is relative. Anything and everything you do has the capacity to become relative, because if it's the most extreme, sensation that you've ever felt pain-wise, that's your new homeostasis. And when people don't have much hardship in their life, anything becomes hard for them. One conversation I had maybe 6 months ago with someone who, quite honestly, has got a lot of mentions on this podcast. Merely because they really didn't agree with one word that I said. And it got to the point where they disagreed with anything I said just because it was me saying it, no matter how much sense it, like, no matter how much sense I made. And I'm sure people who are listening to this episode know people like that in their lives. It's like a petty thing. It's like, just because it's you saying it, I'm going to give pushback. And you know what? I don't even blame those people because it's habit recognition. The same reason why I feel hungry when I don't eat food is because my brain knows that when I feel this sensation in my stomach, all of a sudden I know that this is, me wanting food. And we are habit machines. We are habit recognition machines. And I don't blame the people who do hear something that I say and then completely write it off because it's me saying it. I don't blame them. Although I would just say, maybe think about it, from the unemotive side. Maybe if you don't agree with the other things, that's fine. And maybe the one big reason to why this person didn't agree with anything I said was because I politely told them that I don't believe in their burnout. But it's a story for another day. We all know my opinion, or we should know my opinion. Anyways, this type of person, we all probably know it. Relativity, difficult, struggle. So, the thing about struggle is that every single time you struggle more and more, the easier it becomes to withstand the pain. So if I have spent 5 years of absolute pain and misery, on the sixth year, when something that used to be actually that's a great score. Let's give it an RPE, a rate of perceived exhaustion. But let's change it up. Let's give it a struggle. RPS. Let's give it an RPS. Your rate of perceived struggle. If you have an RPS of 10 year 1, and year 2 you have an RPS of 10, year 3 you have an RPS of 10, all of a sudden your original RPS is probably around 30 if you were to compare it to your year 1 because of the compound effect. And it actually might be around 40 in 3 years because of the compound effect. Because all of a sudden, each year you've been able to withstand more pain and more struggle. So your RPS metric, the system of which you want to measure it by, is relative to the extremities of your struggle. So, if I have struggled for 4 years consecutively, and now my RPS is still 10, but if I was to use the same way that I measure it now, in accordance to the way that I measured it in year 1, all of a sudden, it would be, a 60 out of 60. But then if I think about something that is perceived as a 1 out of 10 from year 1, but it's in my year 6, all of a sudden, that's like a 1 out of 100 pain. But in the beginning, it was a 10 out of 10. And your pain and your struggle is relative to the experiences that you've had. Now, I know instances of my life, which is what I was speaking about before, where I've had a conversation with someone and we've spoken about the difficulties and the struggle behind these difficulties. Now, because pain and struggle is relative, the thing that they were telling me to do is to stop running, because I ran a lot and I really like to run because I know that it's a difficult thing that I don't like doing. And I think we all need to do something that we don't like to do every single day. The reason why is because if you get in a place where you're only doing things that are comfortable to you, you then are really limiting your threshold of pain tolerance again. It's the exact same way that my resting heart rate once was at, 35 at the lowest, I think it was, maybe 35, 34. All of a sudden, when I wasn't exercising and training as much as I used to because I stopped playing football, it's now at, a humble 48 or something. And it's not that I stopped exercising in total, it's just that I exercised a lot less. So to maintain that, I lost it. Even though I was still exercising a lot, even though I was still training hard, it wasn't as much as I used to. And to get it to the point where it was constantly at such a low rate was very difficult because I wasn't maintaining it. I wasn't pushing myself. I wasn't, doing the extent of which I was previously doing. By the way, previous pro footballer turned into business. Obviously, I'm not going to keep a football schedule up anymore because I got, bigger fish to fry. Pain and struggle is the exact same thing. If I stop feeling or if I stop struggling for set amount of time, then my threshold is relative again. So what used to be really difficult for me, 5 years of doing difficult stuff isn't that difficult for me anymore. But then if I stop doing many difficult things, then doing hard things, but or if I start doing difficult things again after not doing many difficult things, doing these difficult things is again more difficult for me to do. Now, there is a level of muscle memory to where I know what it's like to get past this point, but in the initial stages, it will feel. There may even be a mental limitation that you are aware of to where you're like, oh, I wasn't there. I'm not there now. And this is a mental limitation because you can get back there. It will be difficult. But if you can get back there, then, your muscle memory will help you get there even faster. The example I'll give is the person, they said, yeah, stop running. And I'm like, yeah, it's valid, but I still want to run because if going to the gym is the most difficult thing in my day, I need to be doing more difficult things because that's extremely easy. Showing up an hour at the gym, that's the bare minimum. That's the bare minimum. So I wanted to still incorporate runs because I knew it was difficult. Now, let me take you into February 2025 when I started to run again more consistently. Uh, the reason why I just switched training to go to 30 to 45 minutes of weight and then around 25 to 20 minutes a day of running, so around 5K. All of a sudden, those 5Ks, after not doing it regularly, I was doing 2 days per week, 5K, when I was weight training, like for an hour a day. All of a sudden, those 5 kilometers runs became a struggle for me, and they did slowly become a struggle when I did them less consistently as well. Like I could see, oh, a 4:45 pace. That's quite disgusting if you ask me. Quite unacceptable, and it became more difficult to do. I'd wake up and I'd be like, with a 5 kilometer run. Ask Nick 1 year ago, 5 kilometer run. I eat that up for breakfast. In fact, a 15 kilometer run. Baby steps. And that's because my threshold and my pain tolerance was different. And I was worried that I knew this would happen actually. And I wanted to figure out a way to counteract this. And actually, yesterday's a great example of me getting over that one physical border, which is that I just wasn't fit enough to be at where I once was. And then also mental, to allow myself to believe that I actually can get back to where I was. Now, I'm still not there. No way am I near 35 BPM. I don't wear Whoop or an Apple Watch anymore because we got bigger fish to fry. I feel like I should create my own version of that. Anyways, I don't know what I am at now, but I gave a pretty good run yesterday, and I was like, yeah, okay, now the mental side is caught up to the physical side is caught up to the mental, and they're both at a pretty good spot right now. I can do this pretty consistently. Sometimes I don't need to because I'm really not trying to become a speed demon again because I know exactly what's going to happen is I'm going to have to stop it in a few weeks again, get back to the weight training, and then slowly have this cycle where I'm putting on mass and then getting a little bit leaner. And this is the normal cycle of life. So it's just a good example to how difficult is relative. It's, translating it through layman's terms. If I did that, I don't know if I did that. You let me know if I didn't do that. If you want to hear a better example, then let me know. But difficult is relative, and this, as mentioned, doesn't just go for physical. Physical is just an easy embodiment of which I can give an analogy of or an example of. But I would say that difficult is also relative to the things of which you decide to do in your life, whether it's going to university. Out of context. Don't clip that. Whether it's going to university, making a hard life decision, or whatever it looks like, difficult is relative. So, the thing that I would challenge you to do is to continue doing difficult things for the sake of doing difficult things. Now, do it with perspective. Don't just do difficult things for doing this for the sake of doing difficult things necessarily. Like, what I mean is, don't spend 5 hours a day on the toilet because it's difficult. At least do something whilst you're on that, and maybe don't get bowel cancer or whatever it is. But be smart with the things that you choose are difficult. Now, I think that physical things are typically a net positive. Maybe like business related, doing difficult things, whether you want to learn a new skill, whatever it could be, that embodiment, just try and do something difficult in a positive way. As mentioned, try not to make it negative. Don't spend 5 hours, not the best use of your time. just because it's difficult. No, do difficult things that have some return on your investment. And I think that a physical embodiment of doing difficult things, uh, hiccup, is a great way to test your threshold. Now, that's my little set on tour. Made that word up because I'm French. And that's a good little caveat to make sure you like, subscribe, follow on Instagram, do the podcasting things that you're meant to do, like leaving many likes on this video, making sure that you've put that 5 stars ratings on the podcast episode as well on Apple Podcasts if you're listening, because everyone listens on Apple Podcasts because Apple Podcasts is quite frankly the best. And if you listen on Spotify, then you can. No, I do want the Spotify listeners to continue to listen because actually they make up like 50. No, I think they make up 70% of the listeners. So much love to the Spotify users. Just know that you are inferior, and that's no hate. Just know, like, it's nothing that you. It might be a life decision that you're okay with being inferior, and if you are okay with that, then I encourage you to get back to the inferior side. That's not a word. What's the opposite of inferior? Superior. Get back to the superior side of listening on Apple Podcasts. Now, the reason why is because Spotify doesn't make sense, quite frankly. Oh, you know what's going to happen? We're definitely going to get sponsored by Spotify one day. I probably just blown the Spotify brand deal. Stuff it. I didn't want it anyways, quite frankly. I want the Apple Podcast deal because Apple Podcast is supreme, and they will stay supreme. The way that box logo stays on the t-shirt, supreme. Big ups, Apple Podcast. I hope you're well, friend of the pod. So yeah, make sure you leave that 5-star rating. Or no, don't even leave a 5-star rating. Leave the rating of which you feel is most applicable. If you believe that this waffle is worth 1 star, rate it 1 star. Call me a schmuck. Tell me exactly what you're thinking, huh? Bud? Say it. Got no issue. No, I'm actually not kidding. You can do whatever you want, but 5-star is preferable. It is. Even if you are lying, do it for the cause of good. Do it for the cause of more people needing to hear the absolute nonsensical things of which come to my brain. The sudden burst of caviar mimosas. The sudden sedimentary establishment of the circumference of the Gatorade bottle. Right here. I don't know. Sorry, this is just the intermediate into English. Not my first language, by the way. Waffle is, if you haven't been able to tell. Anyways, next topic. Learn to dangle the carrot in front of yourself. What is this talking about? Perspective. It's talking about how no one is going to do it for you. It comes with ownership. I give the analogy, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here. That's a vocab that I switched up. Normally I say, like, as I always say, or whatever. Nick's just changing up the soundboard so he sounds more original. To reiterate, dangle the carrot in front of you. We need to be able to re-incentivize ourselves to take action. Now, I think that guys are probably decent at this. I believe, and I'm speaking for the majority of guys here, being the minority of guys here, which I believe that a lot of guys will do and say self-deprecating things to them which make them take action. Now, I actually don't have a formalized opinion on whether I think this is good or not. I don't necessarily see right now how it could be bad other than being dependent on it, which if you're dependent on an emotion, that's never a good thing, being dependent on an emotion. Let me quickly get something from the ground. I need to fidget with something, because we all know what I've got. Starts with A, rhymes with autism, and I stuffed that one up. I was meant to say starts with A, ends in ism, and sounds like dautism. You do the maths. Learn to dangle the carrot in front of you. You need to be able to re-incentivize yourself. You need to be able to you need to be able to convince yourself and give yourself the perspective which requires action. What I was saying about guys is guys will typically, I believe, self-deprecate or tell themselves that they aren't there yet to motivate them. And what I was saying is if you are dependent on these set emotions and feelings for action, then you're also at the whim of your own emotions and actions. So maybe actually I don't agree with the self-deprecado. Maybe I don't agree with it. Because as mentioned, if you are at the whim of your own emotions and feelings, then guess what? When you feel sad, you're not going to go and do that thing. You should show up regardless. So yeah, okay, formalized opinion. You've just seen it live in the flesh here. Nick has done the scholastic way of methodology of thinking to think about the argument for and against live in the flesh, and he's just dissected is self-deprecating chat to yourself to push you to do something good or not. It can help you, but if you're reliant on it, you are at the whim of your emotions and feelings. And if you don't feel a specific way, the action won't happen. Not a blanket rule, but for the majority of people, there you go. That's how we think around here. Scholasticism. Learn about it. Big ups the founders. Hope they're well. Friend of the pod. Augustus. Random name. I actually don't know the team. Sounds about right. Learn to dangle the carrot in front of yourself. Now, how do we do this? Urgency could be one way. Time pressure. I think that perspective. How I got onto this broken record thing was talking about the saying that I say. If I was to give Elon Musk $1 million to run 100 meters, he would probably sneeze and realize that he made $1 million in the moment of his sneeze, and then would probably sneeze again in the other person's face who offered the $1 million. He doesn't need it, long story short. But if I offered it to a single mum of 5, I think that she would probably dedicate a full year to learning this, or to doing the 100-meter run in under 15 seconds, where Elon Musk wouldn't sneeze at it, you know? Perspective, incentive, time pressure. Fair. This can force action. Now, if I think about this for myself, if I really believe that I need to get something done, it's not necessarily by doing it that actually gets the thing done consistently, especially if it's a difficult thing. It's the belief system that I have around it, the incentive that I have around it. For me, I don't necessarily need to incentivize myself or to reimagine what this could look like, because I already have these systems and processes in place to where I have complete ownership and responsibility of said things. Now, that's not to say that I don't need to have some perspective sometimes. I definitely do. And I really value when someone gives me pushback, because I don't get given pushback very often, because I sound or believe to others to be so convincing. When realistically, yes, I believe the things that I say, although I am also aware that my beliefs may be wrong, because I believe them 100%. I actually have a word for this. It's called malleable rigidity. You should have malleable rigidity, to where you are so rigid in the way you think, because it is actually a better way to operate, that you believe that everything you're doing is right, but then also understand at its core that everything that you might be doing right now is right, although you could be doing it wrong, which is so counterintuitive. But essentially the reason why is because you want to do something with 100% conviction, because you can then dictate what is right or wrong. So if I was doing something that was completely wrong, let's go to the green Gatorade bottle again. If I was looking at this green part as being the orange, and I'm so convinced of it, when I am proven that it is green and that I was wrong all along, at least I now know the correct way of operating. Where if I was believing it is green, or if I was believing it was orange, but I think it could be green, then when I actually figure out the right way, all of a sudden my thought pattern and process to actually getting to this point is unclear. I don't know how I got to that point, where possibly the way that I got to the point figuring out that it was actually green with the 100% conviction, there actually may be a system and process that is replicable to get back to that point. So it could be I spoke to a specific person, or I thought about this in a specific way. And this is a very scalable way of doing things. And that's why I do believe that having 100% conviction in your beliefs is good, but also having that malleable rigidity is even more important, because you need to be able to change an opinion if proven wrong. So most of my opinions, I'd like to imagine all of them are made up of the evidence in front of me being more compelling than the evidence against. Which also means that my opinions are based on my worldview rather than the beliefs of others potentially. But again, I also prefer to operate that way because I don't necessarily believe lies that I am being told. Or I may perceive them as lies, or I may perceive them as untrue. So I would rather experience it. And again, I think this is a better way of living. Prove me wrong. No problem, because guess what? It's just going to help me be a better person. And that's actually how I think you should frame things. But anyways, incentivizing yourself, giving yourself the perspective. I don't need to necessarily give myself too much more perspective on the nuanced topics that, or the processes and, the systems that I believe and operate in. But that's also not to say that there could be better ones that could help me. And that's exactly what I was saying. Like malleable rigidity, I may be doing something somewhat right, but if there's a better way to do it, then I'd be silly not to do it because it's in my best interest too. Learn to dangle the carrot in front of you. Let's think about it. You're that mum of 5, single mum of 5, who's just been told that $1 million is guaranteed if she runs under 15 seconds for 100 meters. All of a sudden, this has become a measurable piece of data for her that she can then realize is achievable. Although, what she didn't realize is that she could make even more money doing something else that she doesn't even know about yet in less time. But as soon as she got given a framework to operate in, she realized it's possible all of a sudden. Now, this is a really unique concept because if it only took a framework for her to realize that this thing is possible, it's a lie because it's a construct. Because it's actually possible to do it in other ways. So essentially, for her, she needed a level of knowledge, maybe accountability, and awareness to realize that earning $1 million in a year is possible, but she previously may not have realized that it was possible with even less effort in a shorter amount of time for more money potentially. And maybe she wasn't willing to even put in the effort to figure what that could be. And again, this is something to where I would say most people who aren't figuring out the most optimal way of optimizing their current situation are lazy because the resources are out there. It's been easier than ever to actually make things happen, make things work in the situation that you are. Alfie and I have had this conversation a few times. It's more of an ideological piece for me because it would explain the reason to why I take so much action, but a little bit morbid for today's episode, so we'll skip it. All of a sudden, the framework that has been given to this lady, she realizes is possible. But with a loose framework or no framework established, if she's just in her 9-to-5 job, trying to provide for 5 kids, she is fixed on her 90K salary a year, and she doesn't believe that it's possible to make $1 million in a year all of a sudden. And she needed a framework that would help her get there. But what if I was an entrepreneur and I said, hey, if you learn these 4 skills, I can introduce you to these people and you can make 10 million in a year. All of a sudden, she's then like, okay, maybe it's possible, but I want to see someone else do it before me because guess what? She might not believe that she has the capacity to do so. And what I would say is everyone, mostly everyone, outside of, external factors, has the capacity to do anything, actually. And the reason why she may not believe that she can do it is because the limitations that she's put on herself. But what helps people with limitations is seeing someone else do it before them. Now, I'm someone who, one, does like to see other people do it before them because it gives me confidence that I can do it myself, although I don't need that. And a lot of people do need that, which is why a framework helps people get to where they want to, which is also why frameworks sell. It's exactly why frameworks sell, which is like, buy my course and you can figure out how to earn $1 million in a year, or whatever it is. And quite often the people don't get that because they're reliant on a framework. Buying a course and being stuck in that framework of getting to somewhere doesn't even guarantee you to get there because it's not teaching you necessarily the right skills. It's teaching you a framework to possibly get there. And it's definitely a better starting point than having nothing, don't get me wrong. But actually trying to figure it out yourself is what's going to help you make it replicable because it's not actually the process of which is the most valuable thing. It's figuring out your process because what worked for someone may not work for you. Now, this may be a little bit cognitively dissonant of me. Something just popped in my mind where I was thinking, is this a little bit cognitively dissonant of me? Which it might be a little bit cognitively dissonant of me to talk about this. And I'm not exactly sure where it is, but maybe we can even talk a little bit about cognitive dissonance, which is something that is inevitable. The more you know, or the more you claim to know, or the more you think you know, the more cognitively dissonant you are, because all of a sudden your actions and your beliefs aren't completely adding up. Because then you've got too much to worry about and too much to track. And it's kind of like the cynic perspective. You know too much, and all of a sudden it's even more difficult to operate the world because you just know too much. If you are thinking that's what I'm believing about myself, by the way, you're wrong, just in case you did think that's how I'm thinking right now. I wouldn't say that I actually am in the position to where I know a whole heap of stuff right now. I'd like to imagine I'm working my way up there, but also at the end of the rainbow, as I said in the last episode, maybe it's something that you don't actually want in the first place. But I think that it's a nice conquest to go through. Anyways, learning to dangle the carrot in front of you, because we just love caviar around here. I think it's typically that salmon caviar. That's that top tier stuff. Although black caviar is definitely a cuisine of the wealthy, high net worth individuals for sure skis. But what am I doing? What am I doing? We were talking about the carrot. Learn to dangle it in front of yourself. Give yourself or figure out a way to dangle that carrot in front of you. Whatever it is, the only way you're going to figure it out is by taking action. And so many people don't take action. Like, action is a very easy thing to do in small steps. If you want to take a big step as well, then just know it may be a little bit harder to maintain it. But if you can operate in a way that you are continuously making big steps and you're seeing progress, or maybe you're able to keep it up to a point where you've got enough momentum that you don't need to stop, you can start to do some pretty amazing things. Now, this is something that I'm working on from a behavioral psychology stance at the moment, where I'm trying to help operate a framework and a system for some people that I'm working with. I'm trying to push them, but if they don't want to be pushed or they're scared of pushing themselves, then it's a very difficult thing for people to do so, because it may feel like it's forced. And if they associate progress with pain and force, then they won't take action because they don't like the feeling that they get from being reinforced to do this thing. This is like the same issues of being a teenager and your parents are telling you not to go out, and then you're all cool and rebellious and you go out. It's like the same process that's there. It's like you want to rebel a little bit. And I'm aware that if I give people too rigid of a framework or too controlling of a framework, then they may not fully believe in me or fully believe that it's there for a reason, which causes an inaction. It has to be inherently. Now, I believe that the best way to inherently create action for others is to actually show them results so that they believe that they do need to take those actions with you as well. Now, if those people are listening who I'm talking about specifically, this is a good part to, tune in, because it does bring up a lot of provoking thoughts. So the way that I try and do it is I try and show the behaviors that are associated with X result. And then when people see the behaviors, maybe it's, not going and doing X, Y, and Z with your friends on the weekend. Maybe it's just being disciplined. Maybe it's showing up for every training session that you do on time. Maybe if it's when someone wants you to let them know if you're attending something, you let them know immediately. As soon as you see that text, you message them back. These are the behaviors of which people will instantly see and recognize to why you are different. And then what should happen after that is people then are thinking to themselves, why is this person different? And then they see all of the patterns and behaviors which they associate with you as the difference. And then they will then try and replicate it because they see, oh, to be different and to get those results that they have, which is what I want, I have to be different myself. And it's not that difficult. Being different to the average person is truly an easy thing. But to believe that you have the capacity to get there is the most difficult hurdle. And you will be able to get there. Every single person who is listening right now, you can operate in a different way to most people, and that can get you ahead of 99% of people in this world, just by taking a decision to do so. It's a bold decision. You may get people who are like, hey, guess what? It's not worth it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm kidding. Do it. Because who cares? Like, those people aren't there to help you then. It's a great filter. So many people who, and this is also why I really invest in people who believe in me, which is also, caveat, not the best thing when I actually deep dove, because it essentially means that I have a dependency on people who believe in me, because no one believes in me. So if anyone does believe in me, then I have a close attachment and I believe everything that they say. But if I'm also aware of that, then it's less likely to happen. So I just Uno reverse the Uno reverse card. How about that? That's what awareness does. Awareness gives you a Uno reverse card, but then a level of heightened awareness on top of your awareness allows you to Uno reverse that card. Ever think about that? And then on top of that, there could even be another level of awareness on that level of awareness on awareness. That could be another Uno reverse card, or it could be a +4 cards. And if it's a +4 cards, then you're going to make sure that no one stacks that thing. German rules. Because if someone stacks the +4 on the +4, it's +8. Again, not allowed typically in normal Uno rules, but in Germany, we do what we want. And where was I? Oh, I don't know. Stop asking me.
Huh?
Anyways, incentives and etc. Yeah. Take action. Take small steps. And it's possible. It's very possible. Just have a few set of behaviors which are different from the average person. Strive to be different. Even though it may feel scary, it's not the most difficult thing in the world. The fear is unknown. But when you're in the process, when you're in the moment, it's really not that scary. It's really not that scary. I think that I've probably been here for about 6 or 7 years now. I think probably 13 is when I started to make those small first steps. And it's been a process, don't get me wrong. Like I've really struggled at points, but the struggle really didn't feel like struggling in the moment, quite frankly. I can't tell you an exact moment where I really, really struggled internally. Not one. Genuinely not one. The most that I may have ever struggled wasn't even due to my struggle. It was me knowing that other people were struggling on behalf of me. That was maybe the biggest moment that I ever felt like a really big burden. But even then, when I think about it, I operated in such a way that was so calculated that gave me and the people around me much more peace and confidence in the process that I gave. And I think that this is such a good takeaway for me, especially living through it, is that my pain will never ever outweigh the framework that I live in, which is pain is nothing. It's actually nothing. It only becomes annoying if you start comparing. If you start comparing it to your relativity or your homeostasis, pain then becomes bad. But if you're in the moment and you're like, this is normal, and you try and convince yourself and analyze the situation to where you try and operate that this is normal and this is completely fine and this pain is short, it's temporary, and there's nothing better or worse in the situation. I am just here. I'm present in this moment. Pain is literally homeostasis. It can become homeostasis, and with enough repetition, your pain threshold goes further and further away. Now, we're borderline getting into the last episode a little bit now, so I'm going to wrap it up there. But learn how to dangle that carrot in front of yourself. Difficult is relative. This is the Sculpted Podcast. Make sure you do a like and a subscribe. Make sure you make a very big subscribe to this if you want to hear more Japanese accent. And there's more of that where it comes from as well, because that's what we do around here, folks. We got great accents, a studio coming soon. Unfortunately, just me right now. 2 extremely handsome No Diddy producers. 1 a little bit more clapped co-host. And that's what we got around here. Banter, jokes, funny. No, it's probably not that funny for you, honestly. It's really funny for me, though, because I love watching myself back and laughing at my jokes. Weird admission. Definitely an admission. Anyways, yeah. Subscribe to this. Make a very big like. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Parado no bailão, ela com o popozão. popozão no chão. O popozão no chão. E o popozão no chão.